Straight to the press review. Antonia Carrigan's here. She's beginning in Hungary. Voters heading to the polls on Sunday, of course. You've been reading about one of the minority opposition parties vying for seats there.
Yes, this is what the party that goes by the two-tailed dog party. Now, on their manifesto, you have free beer and also eternal life. However, behind the jokiness, there's also a seriousness to the satire. They also promise to build a rocket launch pad in Viktor Orban's hometown of Felcsút, which is a very specific comment on Viktor Orban's own choice to build a 4,000-seat stadium there in what is a village of 1,700 inhabitants. It's extremely anti-corruption. They're not supportive either, I should say, of Viktor Orban's main challenger from the centre-right, Peter Magyar. Their manifesto is also focused on things like gay marriage. They would like measures to fight corruption. They want higher taxes for higher earners, sustainable agriculture, and for Ukraine to be allowed into the EU. On their campaign bus, featured here, you have various game options, and one of them, Mario Kart style, you steer around a course in the character of an Orban associate, and you collect coins, which is of course a comment of corruption, and another game in which you play his aide, sidestepping homeless people on a race to parliament, of course a comment on what they see as a corrupt government, broadly indifferent to poverty behind all that satire.
Yeah, we shall see how they do. Well, among the factors behind Viktor Orban's position in the polls is an investigation released last week which exposed a close collusion between Sergei Lavrov, of course, the Russian, and his Hungarian counterpart.
That's quite right. It was published by V-Square, which is a Polish investigative outlet. There you have pictured Lavrov, you have Orban and his foreign minister, Szijjártó. Now, they have heard and seen transcripts and audio leaked of phone calls between the two foreign ministers, and what they describe is a hotline. There are discussions, quoted, in which they discuss the delisting of specific oligarchs and friends and relations of oligarchs, including the sister of the Russian Uzbek Alisher Usmanov. The two men discussing it, and at one point the Hungarian foreign minister confirming that he is working on it. The investigators also spoke to European diplomats to get an idea of how the Hungarian weight was coming to bear in these discussions. And of course, every 6 months, the new sanctions packages had to be re-voted unanimously by member states, which meant that countries outliers on this issue, like Hungary, had an outsized influence. And indeed, they say, the diplomat explains that they often open negotiations with whole lists of Russian names they wanted to see delisted from the sanctions. In one phone call in 2025, you have the Hungarian foreign minister boasting that he has had 72 Russian entities removed from a list. He says, "I'm trying to continue, but I have to say that this is in the interest of Hungary." The tone in some of the audio recordings is described as almost obsequious, akin to an intelligence officer talking to an asset. So extremely damning in terms of the collusion between those two countries.
Let's come back to France for this next one. Antonia's going to tell us about a particularly brazen university professor.
That's right. Let me tell you about Florent Moncler. This is him at the French National Assembly receiving the extremely prestigious gold medal for philology back in 2016. Philology, for those who are interested, it's a sub-branch of linguistics involving looking at historical texts. Anyway, don't worry too much about it, because the prize is made up. He was the first French person to win it, so everyone was very impressed. The prize claimed to exist since 1967 and to be affiliated with Delaware University. But it was he that made the website that made those claims, and it was he that wrote the letters, including to future laureates, because indeed he carried it on, and the following year it was awarded, or he had it awarded, to the famous, internationally famous linguist Noam Chomsky, who came all the way to Paris to have it presented to him for an audience of 200 people. It started to catch up with him the following year when he awarded it to a Romanian academic, and Romanian journalists thought they'd look into this gold medal for philology that one of their prized academics was winning, and they realised what a scam it was, and now it's taken some time for it to catch up with Mr. Moncler, but he's now under investigation by the French prosecutors for use of a false title. So you'll never get away with it, really. You're only cheating yourself, is the moral.
Perhaps you'll win next year, Anthony. You never know. Finally, yesterday, of course, was Easter Sunday, and the story of Christ's resurrection continues to inspire the cartoonists.
That's right. Let's begin with a cartoon from the week. This is Christ emerging from his tomb after his resurrection, rising again on the third day, to be met with an ICE officer who says, "All right, I don't care where you're going. I'm going to need to see your papers." Also in the week, you have Christ appearing to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And Christ is, of course, spreading his signature message of peace to a Secretary of War who's saying, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to pray to you." That's, of course, a comment on Christian nationalists' attitude to war, as you see, of course, a missile firing off the side of the frame now. Finally, I would like to show you something that's absolutely nothing to do with politics, not a comment on anything in particular except, I suppose, IKEA. This is Father Schober, who regrets buying the IKEA crucifix this year when he realises that means he'll have to be the one to nail Christ to the cross.
Not a good position to be in with that dog collar around his neck. Antonio, thanks for that. Antonio Carragher there with the papers on France 24. More coming up for you straight after the break. We're going to be talking about health as well in perspective today, so do stay with us.
Hello, in this Europe Rendezvous, it's your turn to shine. Get on your smartphones, tablets,